Well, welcome back to Comstock's channel, accelerating the commercialization of decarbonization. And joining us to talk about some pivotal revenue growth as the company continues to commercialize, of course, Corrado, the CEO, joining. Welcome back, sir.
Thanks, Kyle. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Always love having you on, especially during these pivotal times. The news, the stock, there's a lot of excitement going on as you had an absolute explosive news over the month here just for September. I mean, you had your first renewable metal shipment, multiple revenue contracts. Maybe let's talk about multiple sides of the business when it comes to these contracts with fuel and metal. But do you want to give some insight on the metal side of the business
Yeah,
first?
yeah. Let's start with metals. We had built our demonstration unit, about 5 months ago, 6 months ago, and our big claim to fame there was being able to cleanly recycle all of the material. So the ability to cleanly produce aluminum, cleanly produce glass, and then even these silver-rich fines was the breakthrough. So we already knew we were having revenue coming in on the front end just to receive the panels. That's very profitable. We're getting panels in at $500 a ton. But to be able to start shipping a secondary revenue stream, literally revenue coming in the back door and then revenue going out the front door with the same materials was the big breakthrough. So not only did we announce, more contracts, but we announced our first shipment of aluminum. We've now made our first shipment of glass, and we're working on the third shipment, which would be the silver-rich fines. So that was like a second segment of revenue, if you will. And quite remarkably, at 60 cents a pound, that aluminum could be, 120, 130, $140 a ton of additional revenue on top of the 500, and that's just for the aluminum. Now, the third part of it, which really we reacted to an opportunity, Kyle. There were people in the marketplace that had panels, installed panels that they needed to dispose of, but they had no way of decommissioning, deinstalling. They were like, "Can you help us?" We really weren't thinking about doing decommissioning services, if you will, but we saw the opportunity. We quickly marshaled the resources, and we've already had three major projects decommissioning solar panels. In one case with a very brand name company, which we're not yet authorized to release. But the point is that we now have a third revenue stream. That one has high revenues, less margin, but the reason it drives us is because then it channels all the high margin panels, right to our facility. So quite a remarkable evolution in the solar panel recycling business. We couldn't be happier with how it's all evolving there.
Yeah, and kind of moving forward, do you want to talk about the fuel side of this, especially with what investors should focus on there?
Yeah, so in fuels, I think everybody was waiting for, everybody was anticipating a real substantive major commercial agreement. And frankly, we have half a dozen of those types of activities moving along very, very well, primarily in North America here in the United States. But we had a counterparty prepare three projects, secure sites, secure feedstocks, someone very knowledgeable about the renewable fuel industry. And we had been working with them over a few months and just recently announced a pretty major commercial contract. I would say certainly our first major commercial contract, where we're getting 6% of the engineering fees, 6% of the capital cost of the projects in total in engineering fees. As those capital costs could be in excess of $2.5 billion over the next 3 or 4 years, that means $120, $130 million of engineering fees. The first $2.5 million in each case when we sign the site-specific license, that's a subset of the master agreement that we've already signed. Then 6% royalties on an ongoing basis for the production of these sustainable aviation, renewable diesel, gasolines, et cetera. And then lastly, a 20% equity stake in the entity itself. So we were thrilled with the arrangement. It's absolutely a win-win because our technology unblocks the bottleneck in that industry. And our counterparty, Southern Asian Carbon Limited, SACL, is also thrilled. And we're even exploring, expansions of the existing agreement. And since then, we've gotten even additional people coming out of the woodwork looking to do similar type arrangements. So it's starting to get pretty exciting here on the fuels business.
No, 100%. And as always, we'll pass it off to the viewers as well. We'd love to know what you think in that comment section, and subscribe for news catalyst as it comes down the wire like this. Of course, we'll bring it to you here. But on that note, as always, we look forward to catching you in the next one.
Outstanding. Thank you.